Okay, so we're diving into something that I think a lot of parents deal with.
Yeah.
And I'm sure you've been there. Your
Yeah.
kid comes home
Yep.
super excited
Right.
about some school trip they want to go on.
Yeah.
And it could be, a band trip.
Yeah.
It could
Right.
be like a, trip abroad.
Yeah.
It could be anything.
Totally.
But suddenly you realize, oh, this is going to be expensive.
This could be a problem.
How are we going to make this work?
Yeah.
Right? And we're going to talk about how to navigate this whole situation.
Exactly.
And maybe turn it into like a positive learning experience for everybody involved.
Yeah, for the whole family.
So the first thing that comes to my mind is scholarships.
Mm-hmm.
And I think of it like a treasure hunt.
I like that.
Right? Because you never know what's out there.
You really don't.
There's so many different,
Absolutely.
organizations and programs and stuff.
Yeah.
Have you looked at all into any of the school or community-based programs yet?
Well, and that's the thing that I think people don't realize is that scholarships are actually a lot more common than you think. Like, they're not super rare or anything, Like, I think a lot of times schools, they'll actually have, funds set aside, or they'll be connected with local organizations that do this kind of thing. And there are even, national organizations that offer scholarships for this kind of stuff.
Okay, so, like, if we're talking, like, local organizations, like, where would you even start?
Well, I mean, you could start with something as simple as your local library.
Oh, really?
Yeah, a lot of libraries, they actually have these databases where they list out all the different scholarships that are available in your area.
Wow, I had no idea.
Yeah, and another good place to look is local businesses.
Oh, that's a good idea.
Yeah, sometimes they sponsor students, for educational trips.
Oh, wow, okay.
And then, of course, there are groups like the Rotary Club or the Lions Club. They often have youth programs with funding opportunities. So it's really just a matter of being proactive and kind of getting out there and looking for these things.
And starting early.
Yes, definitely start early.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
You don't want to wait to the last minute.
Right.
And then, don't forget to personalize those applications.
Oh, yeah.
Really showcase what makes your child unique.
Right.
And why this trip is so important to them.
Yeah.
That's going to make a big difference.
Yeah, that makes sense. Okay, so scholarships are great, but let's be honest. They might not cover everything.
Right? They might not.
Right, so we might have to think about some budget.
Yeah, and I remember, like, when I was a kid,
there was this school trip that we couldn't afford.
Okay.
And my parents, bless their hearts, they basically turned it into a DIY adventure.
Oh, that's awesome.
And we explored, like, local historical sites and museums and stuff, and we had a blast.
That's so cool.
It was so much fun.
Yeah.
So, it's about being creative.
Yeah, exactly. And finding solutions that work for your family.
Absolutely.
So what are some, practical budgeting tips that you would give?
Sure.
Especially for families that are already, juggling a lot.
I think the most important thing is to remember that budgeting is not about deprivation.
Okay.
It's not about, like,
Totally
restricting yourself.
Yeah.
It's actually about empowerment.
Okay.
It's about taking control of your finances and making sure that your spending is aligned with your values and your goals.
Okay, so how do we get started?
Well, one simple approach is the 50-30-20 rule.
Okay, I've heard of that. Yeah, so basically you allocate 50% of your income to needs, 30% to wants, and then 20% to savings and debt repayment.
Okay.
So, if this trip falls under the wants category, you can see if you can adjust spending in other areas to free up some funds.
Like what kind of things?
Well, even small changes can make a difference.
Okay.
Like packing lunches instead of buying takeout a couple of times a week.
Oh, that's a good idea.
Yeah, or, maybe cutting back on subscription services that you don't really use that much.
Right.
And then, I think it's also really helpful to set a savings goal together as a family and track your progress.
Well, that's a good idea.
It can actually be a fun and motivating experience.
Right.
Especially for kids.
Yeah, and then they feel like they're part of it.
Exactly.
So that takes some of the pressure off of us as parents.
Yeah.
Okay, well, this is all great,
Yeah.
but, sometimes it feels a little awkward,
I know what you mean.
talking about finances.
Right.
Especially with school officials.
Yes, it can be sensitive.
Right.
Yeah.
Like, how do we even approach that conversation in a way that's comfortable and respectful?
Well, I think the most important thing is to start by reaching out to a teacher or a guidance counselor that you trust.
Okay.
You know someone who you feel comfortable talking to.
Right.
And just explain your situation to them discreetly.
Yeah.
You might be surprised by the resources that they have access to. Schools often have discretionary funds, or they might be connected with external aid programs that you don't even know about.
Okay.
They might be able to offer a partial scholarship or waive certain fees or even connect you with local organizations that can help.
It's amazing.
Yeah. So remember, they're there to support your child's education, and open communication is key.
Right. It can open doors you didn't even know existed. So we've got a three-pronged approach here.
Okay.
We've got scholarships.
Yes.
Budgeting and, reaching out to the school staff.
Absolutely.
It's all about being proactive.
Yes.
And, resourceful.
Exactly.
And just, seeing what's out there. And here's something to think about.
Okay.
How can you turn this experience into a positive learning opportunity?
That's a great question.
For the whole family.
Yeah.
Talk to your kids about budgeting.
Absolutely.
Talk to them about finances.
It's such a valuable life skill.
Right. And, who knows?
Right.
Maybe this will spark a passion in them for, finance.
Yeah, you never know.
Or,
Or maybe they'll become the next Warren Buffett.
Right, exactly.
Yeah.
All right, well, that's all the time we have for this deep dive. Thanks so much for listening.
It was great to be here.
And we'll see you next time.
See you later.
Bye.
Bye.